February 17th, 2023 will be the national debut of Ant-Man and the Wasp, Quantumania. We did a review on the 2015 Ant-Man. Now we're going to do the review of the 2018 Ant-Man and the Wasp. Welcome back to Tales of Two Bros. I'm Angel.
I'm Adan.
Where we try to give you a review weekly. At least one. Spoilers. Did you rewatch Ant-Man and the Wasp?
I did.
I know in our last review of the Ant-Man that I thought that this one was better than the first one. Ant-Man and the Wasp was better than Ant-Man.
Yeah.
And I just finished watching it. And I had to say I'm correct, in my opinion. But to be honest, I have not seen it since I first saw it in the theaters.
Okay.
And the first one is good, right? Like how like Iron Man, it was a great origin story for Tony Stark. Ant-Man was a great origin story for Scott Lang. Now here we go, it continues on. And what's awesome about Ant-Man, it was also like a period piece in a way that it was happening alongside other factors in the MCU. Like it just happened prior of Captain America Civil War. Here, this film takes place during the time of Avengers Infinity War.
Yeah.
The Avengers are doing their thing, you know, with T'Challa and dealing with Thanos and his crew and all that stuff, but we don't see Ant-Man involved. We don't see Hawkeye involved. So this is like a sub-story of Infinity War without being related until the very end on the first end credit scene.
Yeah.
Was this your second time? I mean, how many times have you seen it already? Do you recall?
I want to say it's like the maybe third or fourth. Like I'll watch it one time on my own, or watch it with some friends or something like that. Like so, I've seen it a few times.
There's more action here in the first one. No training montage, none of that. It just goes right into it. And the fight scenes are pretty damn good, especially with Hope Van Dyne. And I love that she let her hair out instead of that bob haircut. But granted, that hairstyle from the first movie was more in honor of the comic book character Janet Van Dyne. Yeah, her mother.
She's notoriously known for having the bob haircut.
Here now she's like her own character. She's not like living in her mom's shadow, if you will. She became her own character because now she has taken the mantle of the Wasp officially. Hope, that is. And as I mentioned before, there's another counterpart to Hank Pym, meaning Goliath, his other alter ego that he had, because he had Yellow Jacket, he was Ant-Man, he was also Goliath at one time in the comics. And then Bill Foster in the comics becomes Goliath, and here we have Lawrence Fishburne playing that role.
Yeah.
What do you think about Ghost?
I mean, Ghost is definitely a character in the comics, but like definitely portrayed differently.
Well, first of all, it was a guy in the comics.
True. Wasn't Ghost more of a Fantastic Four villain, at least from the old Fantastic Four cartoons? Like,
honestly, I have no idea.
Every time I think of Ghost, I'm thinking of a I could be wrong, but I'm thinking of a character that was in the old Fantastic Four cartoons where he was like balding on the top. He had a group of apes that were like cosmic. They had cosmic powers.
I have
just
no
like
idea.
The Fantastic Four, but they're a little bit different.
No, you're not talking about Mole Man, right?
No. Yeah, it was another character that like, he wanted to duplicate the same powers of the Fantastic Four, so he goes to outer space with astronaut-trained apes, each a different type of ape, and then they will gain powers, and his power is like to walk through walls and stuff, like a ghost. Oh, I mean, the costume looked good.
No, the costume looked great, but at the same token, I'm thinking of Metal Gear Solid.
Yeah, I can see that.
Or Metal Gear, excuse me. I'm thinking of Metal Gear, one of the characters that had like a mask on with like three or kind of like, you know, telescope eyes, whatever. So that's what I was thinking of.
Psycho Pirate, was it?
No, not Psycho Pirate. Psycho Pirate was a villain. And this one was
a villain too. In Metal Gear 2.
Right. But no, there's a good guy with a sword.
Liquid Snake.
Maybe a mixture of the two.
So there people, if you're watching this, if you know what we're talking about, anything, tell us if we're right or wrong. If you know the right answer, tell us what it is.
Like Ant-Man, and I'll go say like Doctor Strange to refer to that. Not Multiverse of Madness, but the first one, this is for the most part visually beautiful in the sense of when Pym goes into the quantum
Quantum
realm,
Zone.
the quantum zone, excuse me. That was done very well. The way they portrayed Ghost was awesome. I think that where like she, her body, for those who have never seen this, her body is always constantly healing and breaking apart, healing and breaking apart. So she's in constant pain in that
Yeah.
aspect. But visually, you see like she's in the present, she's in the past, or in the future. Like she's always fluctuating through
Yeah,
the
they call it
time.
phasing, and
Right.
and basically it plays off the idea of quantum theories, like the quantum, which plays into the end game, because like when you're in that state, you like time is not necessarily relative. Is well, time is relative. It's not
Hmm.
a straight line. You can like those particles can go in any direction they want in time theoretically. So like when she's breaking down at a subatomic level, then refusing back together, and
Right.
theoretically, like that's why you can see sometimes her image is ahead of her, not just behind her. For like the
Hmm.
motion of her, like so it is showing that it's like she's just moving out of phase of time and reality and coming back in. I guess it's like, and this is what I'm going to say about Ghost. So I like the actress who plays Ghost. I've seen her in other projects, and
Hmm.
I had two flaws with it. Uh, Only really like her mental state, and I think this had to do with like her upbringing and whatnot. Seemed like she seemed like a childlike almost the first time we introduce her when she's talking to Scott. She trying to act all innocent, and I thought like, is she crushing on Scott? But she's like, I just want what's in your head. While Michael Douglas, Hank Pym, and Hope and are
Hmm.
passed out next to him, and then everything out after that, she's like diehard focused, and then
Well, I mean, yeah, I think it's because of like she's in dire needs. She's about to die.
true, true, yeah, no, I get
So
that,
she's at her wit's end. She's at her last straw. She's right there at the cusp of finding the cure or solution to her problem. I guess what she was trying to do at first is, you know, heal with kindness, and that didn't work. So her temper, her patience ran thin, and you can see that she even portrayed her mentor, her adopted father, if you will, Bill Foster,
yeah,
that she was just that's enough. And she became, I guess, greedy because she was only caring about herself instead of Janet's survival and stuff like that. She didn't know the possibilities if it's going to work or not if Janet shows up or if Janet shows up
hmm.
from the quantum zone. So I can't understand that. I just felt there were some unneeded slow parts.
Oh no, I agree with that.
It was minor. Granted,
Arguably,
Ant Man,
that was the same thing in the first Ant-Man too. There was like some slow parts, but they were minor and easily overlooked.
right? But with Ant Man, I felt the pace was faster.
Yeah.
Where here there were like noticeable slow moments that really slow down, and I think this movie is longer. My favorite part, besides the first action scene with Hope in the restaurant, which was really good,
Hmm.
is the trio, ex-con.
Oh
They
yeah,
were
the
awesome
Wombats.
again. Yeah, they were awesome as always. Again, they're a really good trio, especially when they're hit with the truth serum.
It's not a truth serum. It's like if it walks like a duck, it quacks like a duck.
Yeah, and I like that they went back. They honored the first movie with his storytelling again, of Luis's storytelling, but they didn't overkill it like they did in the first one. The first one, they
Hmm.
did it like twice. They just did it once because he was just freaking out and the truth serum is taking over. But I do like the callback to John Wick.
Baba Yaga.
Yes, because for me, it was the first time I heard it in John Wick 2. Or no, John
No,
Wick 1, the
John,
first one.
I was gonna say
The
that
first
was
one,
the
I'm sorry.
whole trailer of the first one. Baba Yaga. He's the Baba Yaga.
Right, but they also brought it in the second one too. In their first opening scene, they brought that character or that name up again.
Yeah.
So I liked how they used it, where it's not just tagged, I guess, in one movie, but it is multicultural in the sense of like this character is like Santa Claus. A lot of cultures knows this character, Baba Yaga.
Well, actually,
And
I think it's more of a Euro Easter, like a Euro, because I don't think they say what his nationality is, but I want to say Baba Yaga is like that, not quite Russian, but in that general area. Because Baba Yaga is not necessarily a boogeyman. It's more like he accurately described what it is. It's a witch.
Is a
Uh,
Slavic Baba Yaga also spelled Baba Yaga from Polish or from Poland? Is a supernatural.
there's a witch that hunts down
It's a
children,
supernatural
essentially.
being of one of a trio of sisters of the same name who appears as a deformed and a ferocious looking woman.
Yeah, they had her in Hellboy.
Here that they change it up where like it's John Wick, he's a myth, he's a ghost, wherever here, and then here as well. And then he starts singing the song when the character he sees her and she disappears. He starts singing the
He's
song.
like, Baba Yaga, go to sleep. He starts like
His childhood
haunts
childhood
him.
song.
Yeah.
Right. So no, they were great as always. Not as much as they were in the first one. It was more like I guess, a reminder to us. They still exist in that world and they're still there. Luis had a bigger part.
Yeah.
He was more involved in the sense of helping Scott and Hope. Yeah, I mean, what about you? What was your favorite moment or scene?
If we're talking about action, I would say like there's two best action scenes. You already mentioned one, which
Mhm.
was the restaurant fight scene,
Mhm.
and then the other one was the car chase.
Yes, okay.
Fantastic. Which, side note, and I noticed this in the first movie too. How is it everybody has like super 20/20 vision? As soon as everybody shrinks, they still have eyes on them where they're at all times to able to either shoot, chase, or throw knives.
I don't think so.
They don't. They're like just fractions of it. Like in the
No,
first
I
one,
don't think they
he
see them.
shot an ant right underneath him, and in the hotel fight scene, they're throwing knives, and she's like dodging the knives as they're coming around her, and they're hitting her. Listen, I've killed many insects. It's very hard when they're on the move.
Well, they didn't hit her. She ran on top of them or by them or flew by them. I think
Yeah,
they're just throwing best of their ability in that direction. And with the car chase, I don't think they saw them. The only ones that saw them was the pigeons. Don't forget, they also kept, shrinking and growing, shrinking and growing, shrinking and growing. So it was easier to see them. And then, which I thought, well, that makes, I mean, it makes it interesting for the chase for the audience. But for me, I would just small.
just like go down a drain, go small.
Yeah, I would just go on stay small. Excuse me. But wherever they were going, it's like the bad guys were just happening to be following like that road in San Francisco, the curved road. They were just falling in the same vicinity.
Yeah,
But yeah, getting up and down, up and down. I mean, I understand Hope and Scott and Hank Pym getting used to it, but Luis never done it before. I would think he would have gotten nauseous because that would have shaken up his body. Like, it would have been kind of funny if he threw up, like if once the
yeah.
car stopped.
I like the daughter. The character of the daughter is always a great character
Mm-hmm.
to me. The interrogation scene is probably my favorite scene too. Honestly, the ending I didn't like as much as I did in the first one. It felt a little bit anticlimactic for the ending
Which one?
when they finally get Janet out from the quantum zone, and then she goes, "I feel your
Right.
pain," and she just like touches her, and that was it.
Well, the thing is, like, the ghost wasn't really an enemy, though.
No, I understand that.
Right.
What I mean
But it's
is,
not
it
like
just feels anticlimactic. Like,
right. Here's the thing: they set the tone right off the bat of what this story is about, and the story is about rescuing Janet
yeah,
from the quantum zone. That's their thing. That's all there is. And now they have an obstacle with ghosts coming in. So,
hmm
like, unlike the first one, you have a clear enemy of the yellow jacket.
yeah,
Here, there's not. This is one girl who's trying to save her life, and you have Hope and Hank with the answers or with the possible answers of saving Janet. That's where it made it feel like anticlimactic because Ghost didn't want to kill anyone, but she would have if people were standing in the way or she was about to. She was getting closer and closer to that line that some people should never cross, which is good because
I mean,
it
she
just
made it
kind of
sound like she crossed that line a couple times working for Shield, which I
well, she
theorized
was
she was actually
hired,
working for Hydra. She wasn't hired.
right?
She was actually essentially in
Taskmaster.
hmm?
She was like Taskmaster.
but she wasn't hired. She was adopted by Shield as a child, and she was told that they will cure her in trade of her doing
Right.
missions for them and training
Right.
for
No,
them.
of course. And they lied.
Yeah.
So it was Hydra at the time. Right.
Now that actually brings up a thing that I was wondering, because I did like the other alternate villain, the side villain that they had.
Oh, you talking about Sonny Birch?
Yeah, Sonny Birch.
Yeah. But, I mean, he's a great actor. He's
Yeah.
been many, films as the bad guy, very seldom as the good guy. He's good, yes, but
Mhm.
it wasn't really like who was his boss? That would have been kind of cool.
That's what I
And
was
it's
getting to. I was wondering, like, they never hinted at or told us who he was trying to feel that deal with. Like, I don't know if that was for Hydra agents, if that was for some other big bad, if that was even for the Ten Rings.
or AIM.
Which AIM would be a great villain to want to, or organization to
Hmm.
want to have it. Wait, no, this wouldn't be in the same timeline for AIM, because Iron
But
Man
no, it could have
3
been
was done before, and AIM was for Iron Man 3.
right. But he was also the Mandarin as well. The guy wore many hats. But the thing is, even though one guy may have failed, there's always someone else to take up the mantle,
This
if you
is
will.
true.
Or it's just like here I go back to Star Wars, where you have Palpatine gets killed supposedly, but the Empire still reigns. There's still remnants who are taking over, and then there's a new organization, the New Order,
First Order.
that comes, or the First Order, excuse me, the First Order, and then later on there's the Final Order, which was stupid. But there's always someone there, so it could be someone from AIM, it could be someone from Hydra, it could be someone from what's
Ten
that group,
Rings.
the Ten Rings or Illuminati. It could be like multiple factors coming in that need this tech.
Yeah. I mean, it could have been the real Nick Fury, for all we know.
Right. But
Because
we
of
will never
Secret
know. But
Empire.
but that's also good too. It's also good that we don't know. It would have been nice, maybe a one shot, like they've done with other MCU films.
True.
You do a one shot, and then we get some answers from that. But it's also nice to know that we don't know. Maybe we'll find out in this one, Ant-Man and Wasp: Quantumania. Maybe we
Maybe.
will.
The one thing I appreciate about the Ant-Man films, they're actually pretty darn close to the comics in a lot of different ways, in original and other ways. So, like in the comics, does Scott Lang start his own organization for for security for businesses and other like high-end clients? Yes. And does he hire former cons to work with him? Yes, he actually hires former super villains to
Mhm.
work with him like there was a villain that was, I think they referenced it into She-Hulk, where it's like a guy who wears a boar outfit or a bear outfit, and that's one of the guys he hires. So I'm like,
Okay.
I like that concept, like that they took that and they ran with it and they just made
Mhm.
it their own.
You talk about that because when the credits happened, She-Hulk, Attorney at Law, came up as the follow up to Ant-Man and the Wasp on Disney Plus. That's what it did for me.
Oh, you talking about? I'm thinking about like credit scenes. You're talking about like for like upcoming shows and stuff like
Right,
that. What to watch?
yeah, like since you watch this, we recommend this. Or what Disney Plus does a lot of times is this is related to this. In
Yeah,
what way?
recommended
Sometimes,
viewing
right? It could be something big or something small that's related. We also have here the introduction of Jimmy Woo that we see later on
in
in
WandaVision.
WandaVision.
And he learns his magic trick for
Right. That's
WandaVision
where.
because
Well, this is where he starts it. This is where it starts for him, and then we see him in WandaVision learning the card trick, or that he mastered the card trick.
yeah, he uses that to introduce himself to Monica
Rambo.
Rambeau, which is a nice little tie-in for that.
Hmm.
And like his awkwardness with Scott Lang was funny. Like he's like, it's like I'll see you again. He's like, what for like dinner? I was like, what are you trying
Oh,
to do?
that was totally improv. Yeah.
Yeah, and he goes, "Oh, it's like, I mean, no, like I'll catch you in a crime next time, I'll be there to catch you." And it's like, "Wait, it was? Do you want dinner?"
Randall Park, he's very good at improvisation. When that happened, he just went with it and just kept on going. So it was really good. Even though this is actually my second whole viewing of this, still holds up, is still good. Case is great. Comic timing or placement is is right on par in my opinion, in the sense of it doesn't feel forced, but the laughter or the jokes is not as much as the first one. The first one was a little more comedic,
True.
where here is just seldom, but it worked perfectly, if you will.
I don't know why, but it feels like they used Michael Douglas less in this one. I know he's there a lot. It's just that for some reason the impact of his character doesn't feel as impactful.
Right. Well, in the first one, he was the mentor, he was the teacher, he was the coach, he was Obi-Wan.
Yeah.
Okay. So here it's more about Scott and Hope, Ant-Man the Wasp.
I agree with that.
He did have an important part. He was running the test. He was trying to, he's the one that physically went to get Janet. So
Yeah.
I don't know, bro. I mean, there's a lot of him in there, a lot more than you would think, because he's going to the quantum zone. He has a little scene with him and Lawrence Fishburne, and they're about to go fisticuffs in the office. He's in the jail cell or he's in the interrogation room with Hope. It opens up with him and Hope for the movie. He's the first voice you hear of the movie.
Which was the same thing in the first movie.
Was he the first one? Oh yeah, he was the first person.
Yeah.
Correct. Yes, in the Shield. Yeah, back in the day. Oh, I have to say the not Disney, but Star Wars crew, they got to get on board with whoever is doing the de-aging for Marvel, the MCU. They need to get on board with that crew, because they did a phenomenal job de-aging Michelle Pfeiffer. Well, granted, you didn't have to do that much with her, but Michael Douglas,
good, yeah.
yes, Michael Douglas, when they de-aged him in this one and in the first one, they de-aged him, and he looked amazing.
So I heard, and anybody in the comments can always correct me if I'm wrong on this. I heard that most of the actors that they do for Marvel, they do a lot of like mocap and facial captures, because they want to get them, and then they want to get them while they're young, or get those faces so they can de-age, right? And they've been doing that for quite some time. So they have like a library of face capture and motion capture. They actually skipped Paul Rudd. And the reason
he never ages.
That was
never ages.
They literally said that too. Like, the man doesn't age. We don't need it. Like, down the line, maybe, but like we'll have enough footage of him from regular movies that we don't need to, anyways. So they just said like, we don't need to. He's in his 50s now.
Yeah.
And
he's been in his 50s.
He's been in his 50s, and he still looks like when he was in Clueless.
He's like the Dick Clark of the MCU.
But like, that's just a fun fact that like Marvel recognized it. Like, this guy doesn't. We can save money on him. We don't need to put the dollars to.
There was
capture his footage.
What scene would have been for him to de-age though?
No, but like down the line in the future or whatever. Like, yeah, like it makes sense because they have a whole library of their characters to do that for.
But regardless, again.
No, they do a great job.
Star Wars crew, Star Wars production needs to hire whoever did that, because the thing is like you have de-aging and then you have deep faking.
Yeah,
and I think the Disney, I keep saying Disney, but it's actually Star Wars. But the Star Wars crew, because since they're both owned by Disney, let's be right about this. Star Wars is doing deep faking, while Marvel is doing de-aging. Right. Correct. Granted, I think for Luke and the Mandalorian and that scene with Boba Fett, Mark Hamill is not the same build. He's a little wider. So I guess you would have been deep fake.
Yeah,
that would have to deep fake, because you're putting it on a different person altogether. So maybe because granted, you had Michael Douglas, the de-aging, but his body was moving like old Michael Douglas. Like, his body was not as moving as smooth as you would if you're in your 30s.
True.
When you're in your 70s. But,
I mean,
okay. I will say this one cool scene, and I forgot about this in the original time I saw it, is when Ghost has Hank hostage in the van, and her hand is through his throat. When he's telling her, like, she went solid, he would have been dead. And
that's the Vision move.
Really, right, exactly. The phasing,
classic,
yes.
Yeah. Classic Vision.
Seeing that, I was like, ooh, I don't remember that from the first time.
But sorry to cut you off. That brings me back to the interrogation scene. that we were commenting before, because there was so many small moments that were really good. But like when she reveals herself, is right after he goes, "Oh yeah, they're the forest," and then
Oh yeah,
and
that's
she,
when so when everyone scares, everyone got scared, and she's like, "What? Where?" And then
but
the
it's
Baba
like she
Yaga
pops up like that, and you could tell she's just fed up with his storytelling, and she's like, "Just tell me where."
review wise. So here on IMDb is ranked or rated at 7 out of 10. Film Affinity has it scored at 5.9 out of 10. That's pretty damn low.
That is
And
low.
86% of Google users liked it. But officially on Rotten Tomatoes, 87%, and the audience reviewed it at 80%. The critics was 445 reviews, where the audience has it over 25,000 reviews. So you're going to have that little barometer going lower. I'm here with the critics. I actually like it more. Like I said, I do like it a little bit more than the first one. So I'll give it a strong like 93. The original Ant-Man, great origin story for him. Great origin story overall for that crew, because you have a lot of characters in that first film and they just follow up and they introduce, I would say basically they introduce here 3: Ghost, Bill Foster, and oh no, 4 guys then. Excuse me, 4 guys.
Oh,
because you have the restaurant owner.
Oh, yeah.
Right. So you have those because he may show up later.
True.
You never know because he wasn't killed. He was just arrested. So he may show up later, maybe in this one, maybe in another one, and like a deep cut that we don't, maybe in a what if, something like that. So we'll probably see him again. So those 4 main characters were added into the Ant-Man
Mythos
universe.
I mean, for me, I still will put Ant-Man above this one. I
Okay.
like this one a lot, but if it was like someone said, "Hey, do you want to watch Ant-Man or Ant-Man and the Wasp?" Like just rewatch it out of the blue, I personally would just say, "Let's watch Ant-Man."
Right.
Nothing against Hope. Those were excellent fight scenes and whatnot. I just like the story better in the first one for me.
Fair enough. Oh, I have to mention, I don't know, I know this is taking place in San Francisco, but I couldn't help think of when Scott is brought first to the building where he's like kidnapped by Hope.
Okay.
Right. And he's bring to the building, that you look when he comes out of the car and you look behind him, the building behind him, the complex, the apartment building, look very similar to the one in Black Panther where Killmonger's dad got killed.
Maybe editing mistake. We just
Not that it's an editing mistake. I'm just saying that's what it looked like, but I don't think they were in San Francisco in Black Panther. I think in that time, that scene, I think they were like in LA or something like they were Compton or something, somewhere like that. And I don't think they were in San Francisco.
I honestly don't remember.
You don't remember the building complex?
No, I don't remember the location.
Oh, I mean, no, don't worry, it's not that major. I mean, the only way we can tell is if we look at that end scene in Black Panther where T'Challa and Shuri are there, and he's telling them like, "This is going to be we're going to save this building. We're going to make a Wakanda learning center outreach thing right there." About maybe, but that's why for me. But I mean, a lot of apartment buildings more or less look alike. Yes,
I mean they could have the same contractor.
Maybe it's damage control. Maybe they brought it up, or maybe it is related. Maybe they're
all built by Lennar Homes.
All right, guys, that is it for us. Thank you so much for our marvelous review of Ant-Man and the Wasp. If you have a movie you would like us to review, please contact us at talesofTwoBros@gmail.com. Until next time, we'll be the next time. I'm Angel.
I'm Adan.
Love you, bro.
Love you, bro.